Right, hey guys, this isn't a how-to, this is just a chat about why pottery and ceramics. With me it goes back a long way. I've spent most of my life painting, really. I've done bachelor's and master's degrees in fine arts. But at the end of the day, the one thing I've always come back to, I've done photography, I've done custom murals, I've done fine art painting, I've done sculpture, I've done all sorts. But the one thing I keep coming back to is ceramics in some form or another. I play with what you could describe as modern ceramics, using polymer clays, things like that. So, where did it all start? Well, we're going back to the late 60s, when I was, I think, 7 or 8, and I was given a battery-powered potter's wheel, as I think it was a Christmas present. Maybe it doesn't matter. I've come from a fairly creative family, and I think it was just one of those presents that somebody saw and thought, no, there we go. And it came with air drying clay, and I was hooked. So my mum, seeing how enthusiastic I was about it, because I was constantly asking for new packs of air drying clay, and I'd used that battery powered potter's wheel until it fell apart. So my mum decided that she was going to enrol me in one of the local museum clubs, or the local art gallery. Actually had a museum club. There was a few of them. You did various creative things, photography, painting, drawing, all that sort of stuff. And she enrolled me on the ceramics course. I think it was 10 by this time. And every Wednesday night I would go over to the local art gallery after closing time, and we'd be met at the door by, I can't remember the guy's name, a long time ago, who would take us upstairs to one of the classrooms at the back of the museum, and I think there was about 15 of us, and we learnt how to do ceramics. We learnt about clay, we learnt about glazing, we learnt about temperature. We did all sorts of stuff, all to do with ceramics. And I did this for about 5 years, I think. Once a week for about 5 years, week in, week out, I went and learnt about ceramics. And then it sort of fell by the way. I don't know why the classes stopped, or if they did stop, or why I stopped going. But anyway, and then within a couple of years of that, I actually had a job, and started an apprenticeship as a spray painter panel beater, where I learned how to use airbrushes and spray guns, and I'd actually started painting while I was at school as well, so I'd fallen in love with painting. So I think painting and drawing sort of replaced the ceramics. But every now and again, over the following years, I came back to it, and I'd spend a couple of months, maybe 6 months, a year, doing ceramics, and then going on and doing something else. Until about 5 years ago, when I discovered polymer clays, and I really got hooked on that because it's easy to use. Once you learnt the basics, you could fire it well, you don't fire it, you could harden it, you could bake it in an ordinary household oven, but the effects you can get with it are incredible. You can graduate colour, and it's fantastic. I've made quite a few pots. I'm going to show you some at some point. Done lots and lots of stuff with them. And it was because of that, and the questions I was getting asked to do with the polymer clays, that I actually started getting interested in ceramics again. Now, the plan was to actually get back into ceramics, get a potter's wheel, which I've got, but I became ill and I had to give up work. Well, I was off sick, And during that time the plan was to save up, get a potter's wheel and start doing ceramics for doing them properly. I actually built a kiln in the back garden out of an old garden burner, believe it or not, which was relatively successful, but I could also use it as a forge. And I made daft things. I made a couple of chess sets, sculpted some little bits and pieces, not with any great success, but I caught the bug and I started playing with materials to make glazes as well. And then, as a result of the illness, well, not as a result, as a consequence of part of the illness that I actually had, I started to lose my eyesight. And I did lose my eyesight. I've lost 90% of my eyesight completely. So I gave up on the idea of ceramics, of pottery. Plans changed, but anyway. However, now I've mentioned this in another video, my welcome video. I started doing archery, and as a result of doing archery, which is another one of my great loves, I started making my own arrows again, and I was surprised at how well I was doing with that. If you consider I'm basically cutting arrow shafts to length, putting points on, putting knocking points on, like string grooves, applying feathers, fletchings, and I've actually surprised myself at how well I could do. And I thought to myself, even though the fletching is a relatively simple, mundane process, I thought to myself, if I can do archery and if I can make my own arrows, I can do ceramics. I mean, ceramics is essentially a tactile medium. Pottery is a tactile medium. Well, as far as I'm concerned, it is. The main point of a pot is to be able to hold it and to use it. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have it like do any great shakes with it. I mean, if you buy a replica of a medieval jug, you're not necessarily going to use it as a jug, but you're going to admire it. You're going to hold it. It's tactile. And because my vision is so restricted at the moment, I think ceramics is the ideal medium to get me back into creating and making. I mean, just in the last couple of days, really, I've gone out and acquired lots of air drying clay, and so I've still got my pottery wheel, which we're going to get set up, and I am going to start creating and making. Now, I don't know how successful I'll be. We shall see. But I've already started thinking about, can I paint? I've already started thinking about, can I sculpt? All the things I used to do, I'm thinking, can I actually do them? And I've come to the conclusion that if I set them up properly, as I've done with the archery and with the arrow making, if it's set up properly, which I may need help doing, I think I can achieve some successful results. So that's basically what the channel's going to be about. It's my journey back into ceramics, because I am going to have to relearn or learn new sets of skills, because I can't see what I'm doing. So everything is going to have to be by touch. So we shall see what happens. I mean, just playing with the clay in itself is very cathartic and therapeutic. So I'm gaining from that point of view. But I want to produce stuff. I want to get back to what the original plan was, which was to set up, because I think I had a feeling I was going to have to give up work, was to set up a pottery studio. And I think that is what I'm going to try and do. But I'm going to play the disability card as well. I'm going to try and not milk, but take advantage of the fact that I am blind, and some of you guys might actually feel sorry for me. And when I get to the point where I can sell work, some of you might buy it. But anyway, we shall see. But there we go. So I just thought I'd make a little quick video, and while I was doing that, I'd actually spend some time and just make a little pot, a little pinch pot. Nothing special, nothing too sophisticated, just exactly the same as what I've done on the other videos, but just take a little bit more care and attention and try and create something, which after all is why I think we're here. I'm a great believer that if people have got skills and talents, they should use those skills and talents. It doesn't matter whether you're a driver. If you can drive cars really well, that's what you should be doing. If you can sell products to people really well, make people buy things that they need, if you can sell them, that's what you should be doing. If you're academically inclined, that's what you should be doing. And if you're creatively inclined, that's what you should be doing. Even if it's just as a hobby. If you're creative, for God's sake, get out there and create. And that's what I'm intending to do. But I'm having to relearn some of the skills and learn new skills, because I'm going to have to educate my hands. And my hands aren't the greatest at the moment, but I'm going to have to educate my hands to take the place of my sight. Like for instance with this thing, we've just been squeezing together. There's a few little, I can start to feel, there's a few little places. There's a few bits and pieces. Now I'm going to have to decide, do I like the feel of that? Or do I have to work it back in? I think I actually like that. See, I love Japanese chawans, or teapots, teacups, tea bowls, and some of them have some really strange, idiosyncratic markings and forms to them. Some of them are quite twisted, but they're all beautiful. So this is what we're going to do. Anyway, enough of me rambling on. I just thought I just wanted to make a video, to be honest. So there we go. Let's see what we can achieve. And I'm hoping that you guys will come along for the journey. Right. Cheers, guys. We'll talk again soon.